Hello and welcome to You Asked For It. I am your host, Ann Page. I'd like to thank Sweet Dreams Furniture in Brunswick for this beautiful set and also the House of Logan for this lovely outfit. Today our guest is the prolific talent, Mr. Charlie Ipcar. He's a Maine native. He is a folk music extraordinaire. And I've invited him here today because last summer, while I was visiting the Maine Maritime Museum in Bath, I had the honor and pleasure of hearing Charlie Ipcar perform. A gentleman had written a book about the HMS Bounty, which is the ship that was made for the movie, the Mutiny on the Bounty with Marlon Brando. Well, that ship subsequently shipwrecked and sank. And a gentleman was at the Maritime Museum speaking about a book he had written about it, and Charlie Ipcar performed this wonderful sea chanty that he composed. So Charlie, could you tell us please about the sea chanty?
Sure, I'd be happy to. The Bounty sank in Hurricane Sandy about 3 years ago, and fortunately 14 of the 16 people aboard her survived. That's the good news. But it was really a very sad time for everyone in the tall ship community that she went down. And I knew when it happened, there was dramatic video and photographs and a dramatic rescue, that I'd want to put together a song, but I didn't know what kind of song. And so I basically read everything I possibly could. Months later, when they had the Coast Guard inquiries and interviews with other tall ship sailors and testimony from the survivors, and finally came down with their decisions, I felt I had enough to put a song together. And it's the kind of song where there's lessons to be learned. And I call it Never Turn a Blind Eye to the Storm.
Wonderful. Will you sing it for us?
Sure. Now she went down last October in a massive hurricane. The waves were running a mountain high, driving wind and rain. 90 miles off Hatteras, she couldn't take no more. And the HMS Bounty she rode o'er. There were 16 souls aboard her, Captain Walter and his crew. He sailed that ship nigh 20 years, knew just what to do. But her frames were filled with rock, and her pumps were known to fail. Should such a ship ever have set sail? Should such a ship ever have set sail? Never turn a blind eye to the storm, I say. The sea is unforgiving, she'll snatch your life away. Learn your trade, weigh the risk, and you'll see better days. Never turn a blind eye to the storm. Never turn a blind eye to the storm. What was that captain thinking to set sail that day with a faster approaching hurricane directly in his way? But he reassured the crew, you'll be safer out to sea. And who were they to question his decree? They'd refit the ship Never turn a blind eye to the storm, I say. The sea is unforgiving, she'll snatch your life away. Learn your trade, weigh the risk, you'll see better days. Never turn a blind eye to the storm. Never turn a blind eye to the storm. The ship was working hard as she beat into the wind. The captain drifted course southwest, paid more time again. But the only time he saved was the cruelest kind of pause, as the great storm snatched his ship into its mighty claws. The engine room was flooded as the seams gaped open wide. The pumps were overwhelmed as the diesel engines died. For the captain and his crew, it was their final trip. They prepared the life rafts to abandon ship. They prepared the life rafts to abandon ship. Never turn a blind eye to the storm, I say. The sea is unforgiving, she'll snatch your life away. Learn your trade, weigh the risk, you'll see better days. Never turn a blind eye to the storm. Never turn a blind eye to the storm. 14 souls the Coast Guard saved on that fateful day. The captain, he's still missing since he was swept away. One deckhand was found dead, newest member of the crew. He'd always dreamed of sailing out to that endless blue. So there's nothing left to fathom but the questions and the pain. The bounty's on the bottom, she'll never rise again. The mariners take warning, heed the sea in all its forms. Never turn a blind eye to the storm. Never turn a blind eye to the storm.
Thank you. That was so beautiful and so haunting. By the way, Charlie Ipcar is a fascinating example of a Maine individual. He's a graduate of Bowdoin College. He spent 3 years in Ethiopia for the Peace Corps teaching, and he did graduate work at Michigan State. Then he came back to Maine and settled in Portland, where he is one of the founders of the Portland Folk Club. And he has had a love of folk music his entire life. He grew up in a household where folk music was played all the time. And so, Charlie, would you honor us with another selection and tell us a little history about it before you do play?
This is a song called West Indies Blues, and it's one my mother learned from her nursemaid back in the 1920s. And I'm sure it includes a few original verses that Ella Madison composed, because I've never found them anywhere else. And it's a song about a Jamaican immigrant who's longing to go back home. So that's part of it. It's been recorded in Australia and England by other people. It's probably my most popular song that I've put together. And I did change the blues tune to more of an Appalachian tune.
Okay.
So it's called West Indies Blues. Now I've been all over this doggone world, been as ever did see was Charleston, South Carolina. I's going home, won't be long. Going home, sure's you're born. I's going home, won't be long. Got them West Indies blues. Now I've got my grip and trunk all packed. Ship I's gonna take her. Say goodbye to Charleston town, heading for Jamaica. I's going home, won't be long. Going home, sure's you're born. Going home, won't be long. Got them West Indies blues. Now Charleston folks eat alligator meat, fried with rice and taters. Bestest eatin' I ever did have was monkey hips and tomatoes. I's going home, won't be long. Going home, sure's you're born. I's going home, won't be long. Got them West Indies blues. Now when I gets to Kingston town, gonna hang around the water, make my living sure's you're born, diving after quarters. I's going home, won't be long. Going home, sure's you're born. I's going home, won't be long. Got them West Indies blues. And when I get to Kingston town, gonna get myself a carriage, roll on down to Sally's house, make the Creole marry. I's going home, won't be long. Going home, sure's you're born. It's going home, won't be long. Got them West Indies blues. So it's goodbye, dear old Charleston town. The packet sails tomorrow. Goodbye, all you dance hall gals. I'll leave you without sorrow. I's going home, won't be long. Going home, sure's you're born. I's going home, won't be long. Got them West Indies blues. I's going home, won't be long. Going home, sure's you're born. I's going home, won't be long. Got them West Indies blues.
And I love it that your mother's nursemaid taught you that song. And your mother today is, I believe, 97 years old. Is that right? Is that correct?
She's 97.
And she is a very famous artist, and her name is Dolav Ipcar. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Right.
She lives in Georgetown, and she is very famous, and her work is shown all over New York and the United States. Is that correct?
And she's still living on the farm in Maine. A lot of her children's books are being reprinted now, and she's still doing painting and current shows.
97 years old, still
So
painting.
it's
marvelous.
she's an inspiration to a whole lot of people.
To me, too. Charlie, do you have another song that you're going to share with us today?
Well,
Could you tell us about it?
The song I'd like to do is called Mobile Bay, and it's based on a poem by Cicely Fox Smith, who in the early 1900s was a young British woman who went out to Western Canada and to Victoria, BC. And during the day, she made her living typing. In the evening, she'd go down to the wharfs and pretend to be fishing and chat up the sailors and the stevedores and collect their stories and their traditional songs. And those became the basis for an amazing number of poems. She also published a book of traditional sea shanties as well. And one of those included the shanty called Roll the Cotton Down, which is this song, Mobile Bay, is a tribute to. So anyway, I and a friend in Great Britain have pulled together some 750 of her poems and managed to get them published. And about 100 of them have already been recorded by people all over the world, some in multiple settings. So she is well on the way, and I wish she was still around. So this is Mobile Bay, and it's got a great chorus. roll the cotton down, boys, roll the cotton down. I thought I heard the old man say, roll the cotton down. There's a song I hear resounding, as the song will sometimes do. It takes me away to my younger days and the ships and the men I knew. To the men I knew in a time long gone, ship of some renown. When I sailed away to Mobile Bay, where they roll the cotton down. Now roll the cotton down, boys, roll the cotton down. I thought I heard the old man say, roll the cotton down. I mind the feel of the noonday sun and the warm, wet dockside smells, rum and spice and the stevedores and the Cajun demoiselle, the shuffle and beat of the naked feet on the levees all around. How I long to stay in Mobile Bay, where they roll the cotton down. Now roll the cotton down, boys, roll the cotton down. I thought I heard the old man say, roll the cotton down. It takes me away from the dingy streets of this old gray northern town. I can hear the yarns my shipmates spun, the rum old songs they sung, the way of a ship at a 12-knot clip as we sailed the wide world round. And I mind that day in Mobile Bay when they rolled the cotton down. Now roll the cotton down, boys, roll the cotton down. I thought I heard the old man say, roll the cotton down. It's the width of a world from here to there. It's the half of my life since then, and it's hill to tread, so I've heard said, the trail where you lost a friend. So I may sail east or I may sail west, far from this northern town, but I'll not stray to Mobile Bay, where they roll the cotton down. Now roll the cotton down, boys, roll the cotton down. I thought I heard the old man say, roll the cotton down.
That was wonderful. Thank you. And I understand you traveled extensively throughout Europe and the United States and Canada when you were doing the research for that book of
And
poems.
Australia.
And Australia first.
One of her books, the only copy we found, was in the library in Tasmania.
Unbelievable that you would go to such lengths to research to create this wonderful book.
Well, every place we go, there are people who sing songs, and that's another reason for going. And of course, there's wonderful things to see as well.
Of course. And are you currently working on the second volume of poems for C. Fox Smith?
Well, we are doing the second edition of her poetry book because since we published it 3 years ago, we've uncovered another 100 songs, 100 poems, and half of them have never been published before. So we're looking forward to the expanded edition, and that one will weigh 3 pounds.
Wow. By the way, sea shanties are poetry set to music. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And I did want to ask you one question about your musical group. You have a local musical group. Can you just tell me a little bit about it?
There's a group that I have been working with for 20 years called Roll and Go, and it was an outgrowth of the Portland Folk Club around 1990, and 4 of us are original members, and we basically have been singing traditional and contemporary songs of the sea up and down the coast of Maine at festivals and concerts. And we've also been featured at the Mystic Sea Music Festival in Connecticut and have gone other places in New England.
I've heard your group and I absolutely love it. And we'd be so honored if you'd grace us with one more song. Would you do that for us? What are you going to share with us now?
This is a song that's inspired by a recent trip we took down to Louisiana. And we took a cruise, an evening cruise on the steamboat Natchez. So coming back, I did a lot of research on the Natchez and the races she had run with the Delta Queen. So I sort of went back in time and pulled together a song that sort of describes people watching them race up the river. Now the Natchez, she's a-comin', kicking up her heel. She's rolling up the river, boys, how that make you feel? Just see the black smoke curling, hear her whistle blow. Give a cheer along the levee as you watch her go. Now the pilot told the engineer, we're gonna need more steam. Churning up fast behind comes the Delta Queen. Now the Delta Queen's a fine boat, not deny that sun. But the Natchez, she's a flyer, and I bet this race is run. Now the Natchez, she's a-comin', kicking up her heel. She's rolling up the river, boys, how that make you feel? Just see the black smoke curling, hear her whistle blow. Give a cheer along the levee as you watch her go. They open up her firebox door, heaved in more hardwood. Boiler pressure surged up high and her paddles dug in good. Now the Natchez, she's a-flying, the sprayed first grade crook for her rail. Oh, too bad. Now they open up her firebox door, heaved in more hardwood. Boiler pressure researched up high and her paddles dug in good. Now the Natchez, she's a-flying, spray swept o'er her rail. The Delta Queen, she's turning green as the Natchez splashed her tail. The Natchez, she's a-comin', kicking up her heel. She's rolling up the river, boys, how that make you feel? Just see the black smoke curling, hear her whistle blow. Give a cheer along the levee as you watch her go. The Natchez wheeled into New Orleans, nosed into the pier. The deck crew moored her stem and stern, for the Delta Queen drew near. There's a set of antlers mounted on her pilot house so high. The Natchez runs just like a deer, it's a joy to watch her fly.
Charlie Ipcar, a prolific talent in our midst. Thank you so much. We enjoyed you so much today. Remember to write or call with your questions and your ideas of who you would like to have on this show. Thank you so much for watching. You asked for it. Charlie Ipcar has also written the most delightful book, 3 Kitties Set Out to Sea. And the kitties actually are cats that belong to Charlie Ipcar and his wife, Judy. And it's just the most enchanting tale for children of all ages, including me. I own one and I love it. And you can find it on his website. Thank you.